In the last episode, we were talking about Jaguar, Nissan, and their potential merger with Honda, which isn't happening. We're talking about how big, or if electric cars are the future. You are very bullish and saying it's the future. I had capitulated in the last episode, but I think I'll dig my heels deep and say that I do not think they are the future, or I do not think they are the future in the way that we say they are currently. But
okay.
I would want to take this conversation
Bold words.
back to Tesla.
No, you have to substantiate, bro. You can't just drop hey, man, we're questioning here. Why?
I'm
then we'll go back to Tesla.
still undecided. I think that perhaps maybe the future will, like, to say that we'll completely stop running on fuel. I don't see that happening. I see something like a mix of the two, where hybrids might be a big thing. Like, we'll still have a lot of, electric cars are not going anywhere. I'm not saying that they'll be gone and no one will want them. There'll be a lot of them, but I think for the most part, I would bet my money that we'll probably have more hybrids, or we're doing a bit of the two, of electric. And for me, it's my own opinion about the infrastructure and supporting such an infrastructure. How costly will it be to have that, to be ubiquitous globally? From my stand, and I may be wrong, I don't see that happening.
May give it a 10-15 year horizon.
I think in 10-15 years, we'll still be driving.
No, I think in 10-15 years, we'll probably be driving electric cars. In 10 years. Actually,
I don't think so.
And I even cut it to 10 now.
10.
Yeah.
If this podcast will be here in 10 years, we'll definitely revisit this story.
I'm telling you, we'll be driving an electric car in 10 years.
I think we'll be driving. I think all cars that are gas powered will probably be hybrids. But I don't think that all cars, or the majority of cars, or the majority of manufacturers at that time will only be making electric.
Only be making
because
electric?
we can't get rid of the cars that are there now, and many of them are still last for the next 20 or more years. But the question is, at that time, will manufacturers only be making electric cars? I think a majority of them will be making hybrids.
Hybrids. Interesting.
Where by hybrid, I mean, there are those, the ICE, internal combustion engines, that will be given will have their range extended through a hybrid motor, or those that will be electric, but also have an option to power the generator, an inbuilt generator in the car, by using petrol.
Yeah, I think hybrids are transitory, in my opinion. I think electric is where the future is headed. I give it a 10 year, but maybe that's some Elon time I'm operating on. Bold prediction. But 10, 15 years. I think Africans in 15 years will be driving hybrid electric cars. Because I think what's happening for me, in my opinion, first of all, the value point for electric cars are going lower and lower and lower. Especially with entrants like BYD, Xiaomi, and all those guys we talked about previously getting into the market. Electric cars are becoming cheaper and cheaper to afford. That's one. Two, I think infrastructure for charging electric cars is going to improve. And it's very behind on the continent for now, but I think it's going to be in. I was actually reading an article where Ethiopia was building their first superchargers. And I was like, that is so interesting. These days I walk out of a mall and I see cars, like electric cars, being charged in the malls. And I'm like, that is actually quite interesting. I think if I'm to be a gambling man, in 10 years, we're going to be predominantly is bold. But yeah, sizably in Africa. Bold. On the continent, yes. But I think outside of the continent, in like Europe.
Do you think manufacturers at that time will be making electric cars?
I think we'll have more purely electric car companies. Let me tell you why. Because I think there's a very big problem space for an electric car company to deal with. Not only are you innovating on the electric tech for the batteries, and increasing range and all those common problems of just innovating on the actual range. You're thinking about innovative ways in which you can make an electric car last longer. Like humongously longer than what a gas-powered car could do. Within, of course, physics range where you can only have this bigger tank in a car, right? So I think the electric car problem space is much bigger and gives a much higher ceiling for things like range and innovation around how to even build better battery tech. So just on the battery tech space, there's a big problem space there. So like a full-on electric car company has so much in their hands to solve for. And secondly, some might also coalesce and lobby for infrastructural developments, right? Supercharger networks. Like, how do we make the charging tech literally mind-blowingly short? Imagine the same time that you'd fill gas, you go and in like at a fraction of the cost, you already have the range of a full tank. Like that's
Yeah,
where I
in
think battery tech is headed,
the,
and
the,
I
the
think they
company,
will win.
the company
eventually.
Neo, if I'm not wrong,
Neo,
they do
yeah.
have that, but for them they swap out your battery
Yeah.
with an
With
already
already
charged
full.
one, and I think I see that being a somewhat better play because it detaches the value of the car to
The-
the range of the battery or the lifetime usability of the battery, like how much degradation, how much loss in power it has incurred over the years.
Yeah.
Where on the used market, a lot of electric cars just plummet with regards to their resale value, primarily because of the whole battery.
Of the whole battery
in the same way that
aspect,
right
yeah.
now buying a phone from someone who's used it for 2 years
Yeah.
is like a gamble where it's like, will I be charging this by midday?
Exactly.
And perhaps you're seeing the same kind of thinking
situation.
or perception, but when it comes to electric cars, and if they can find a way to detach those two,
Yeah.
then maybe. But even then, I'm not holding my breath
that for me is what I'm saying. What could be?
What could
right?
be.
Like what could be is that there's so much more exciting stuff in the electric car space in terms of things that could happen and dynamically shift the reality of us now considering, okay, even as a country, we want to be electric car first, right?
Yeah.
And those policies are very, like it's very possible to transition into that when the clear value prop for an electric car versus a gas-powered car is like night and day. Because when you think about it, even when you think about gas-powered cars, bro, for the last 30 years, like there's not much innovation except for like how the car looks on the outside and stuff like that in the gas-powered car space. But in the last 10 years of electric cars, we've come from Tesla doing a Roadster that can barely do 80 kilometers to now doing like a Model S that is doing like 600 kilometers on a full charge. We have like companies like BYD that was non-existent as a car company in the last 10 years to just jumping to become the second most valuable company, even more than Toyota, like in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I think the problem space is just much
and we
bigger
also have
ignore.
to see it for also what it is, and that is a cultural view where a Toyota, a Honda, they represent an old way
Of
or
doing
de facto.
things.
And but as humans, we always want new and shiny things. And so even I believe even in the car industry, the fact that electric cars are the biggest successes are the new companies, not the old companies
Yeah.
turning their fleets or their models electric.
Yeah.
So a Mercedes, Volvo, Toyota
Yeah.
will struggle making electric cars than would a Tesla, who by definition represent a new era of vehicles.